presented by the Strong Blue Line Foundation and powered by Moose Ridge Coffee in Snake River Landing, Idaho Falls. Welcome to the podcast, where former San Antonio police officer, author, and pastor Tim Rupp walks you through real-life scenarios involving our police officers and digs into the depths of facts and opinions on each case. This is Cop Talk, and it starts now.
We are at the Rev.fm in Idaho Falls, in here, in studio with Gary Austin. How you doing today, Gary?
I'm doing good, Tim.
Hey, spring has sprung. Here we are, halfway through April, and the men's conference coming up in a couple weeks.
It sure is.
So excited about that. It's going to be, and it's free this year.
Yes.
And so if you mention my name at the door, they'll let you in free.
Yeah.
And if you don't mention my name at the door, they'll still let you in free.
Still let you in for free. But
register. Go to register.
Got to register still.
We're coming down to the wire. So please, if you haven't done so, register. And they're going to have a raffle.
Yeah, they are.
And they're raffling off of a Henry lever action 44 Magnum.
Yes.
Beautiful gun. That's almost a $1,300 gun.
Yeah.
Get yourself a raffle ticket. All the proceeds go for next year's Resolve Men's Conference.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of exciting things coming up, man. Excited about that. Unfortunately, I will be out of town.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. I'll be out of town. Commitments. I'll be down in the south, man. Down in Cajun country.
God's got things going on for you.
He does. We've got a lot of things going on.
What a blessing.
Hey, we got some interesting stories. Recent stories.
Really do.
Around the country. Policing.
Crazy.
But before we get to that, let's do our Officer Down Memorial page. So, April 17th, 1887, Gary. 1887. April 17th, 1887. Town Marshal Alexander Smith Rice. On Friday, December 24th, 1886. So this is Christmas Eve. 1886. 4 months earlier, Town Marshal Alexander Rice was shot and wounded while breaking up a disturbance at a saloon in Patriot, Indiana. So here you are in a saloon getting drunk, having a disturbance on Christmas Eve. Maybe you ought to be home with your wife and family.
Right.
Anyway, 4 men were involved in the altercation when Marshal Rice was called to intervene. While he was arresting the suspect, he was shot in the abdomen. Marshal Rice drew his weapon, and more shots were fired as they held each other and fell to the floor. So they were embraced and shooting each other, apparently.
Wow.
The suspects died at the scene. Marshal Rice died 4 months later on April 17th, 1887. 38 years old. That's all we have on him. But here's the deal. I mean, police now make calls by themselves, but so much more back then. Mm-hmm. And it's like, they didn't have radios. They weren't calling, I need help, I need more people. They were by themselves.
Right. Somebody
just went down the street and, hey, Marshal, they need your help down there at the bar. And he goes down there by himself and gets shot.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you have, Gary?
Sad. This is Detective Sergeant James Lloyd Allen, end of watch April 17th, 2005, so several years ago. Providence Police Department out of Rhode Island. He was attacked and shot with his own service weapon. He was questioning a suspect about a stabbing and robbery of an 86-year-old woman earlier that afternoon. Interesting, this took place inside the police department headquarters. So the suspect wasn't under arrest. His handcuffs had been removed during the questioning. And after shooting Detective Allen, the suspect shot out a third-floor window and jumped from the building. That's pretty high.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty high.
That's something you see on movies. Shoot out the window and jump.
Yeah. So he was captured a few blocks away, charged with 1 count of murder, and found guilty of murder and subsequently sentenced to life in prison in 2006. Detective Allen had served with the Providence Police Department for 27 years and posthumously promoted to the rank of detective sergeant. So he's survived by his wife, 2 daughters, and father, who is a retired police captain. So 50 years old.
You find that in like the show Blue Bloods.
Yeah,
find a lot
exactly.
of fathers and sons or families, daughters and stuff.
Right.
In law enforcement.
That's true.
My grandfather was in law enforcement. My dad wasn't. He was in the service, but my grandfather was, and my brother. My brother also retired from the police department. So
yeah,
kind of runs in families.
It sure does.
The Strong Blue Line will be at Moose Ridge Coffee on May 13th through the 18th. That's National Police Week. Police Memorial Week and stuff, designated by John Kennedy.
Looking forward to it.
Moose Ridge Coffee is holding a fundraiser for the Strong Blue Line Foundation.
That's exciting. That is going to be a lot of fun.
Bo and Kim Floyd are doing that for us. We thank them for that. And Sherry and I will be there on Friday and Saturday, the 17th and 18th. But the promotion goes throughout the whole week, Monday through Sunday, May 13th through 18th. Moose Ridge Coffee, located at Snake River Landing. So go out there, grab yourself a cup of Joe or some other drink, whatever you like.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they have all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, they really do.
There to eat, and it's a really nice place.
It's
really cool. I like going there and getting myself a cup of coffee.
Yes.
Moose Ridge Coffee. Go out to that, and you can catch Cop Talk on Amazon, Google, Apple, Spotify podcast platform, just about anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere
exactly.
You look.
Wherever you get your
wherever
podcast.
you want. And of course, you can catch us Monday. When do we air here?
Wednesday at noon.
Wednesday at noon. Why did I say Monday? We've never been on Monday. Gary, this is not a good day.
Got a lot going on too.
I've got a lot going on, and of course on Saturday and Sunday at 2 a.m. In the morning. So I talked to a gal at church the other day. She told me she listens. She goes, I haven't stayed up one day, 2 o'clock in the morning listening. I said, oh, my goodness. God bless you. So, and she was just an older lady, retired, and she just, 2 o'clock in the morning, has nothing else to do but listen to you and I, Gary.
Goodness. Well, thank you for listening.
Wow, we appreciate that. That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I got an article here, and this comes from Law Enforcement Today in the news and from March. So it comes from last month. The title is Indianapolis Police Chief launches groundbreaking mental health response initiative to safeguard community well-being. So a thing that we've heard a lot in the news recently is mentally ill and dealing with the mentally ill, and especially since the George Floyd and all that stuff. And there's a big push. What do we do with the mentally ill? The fact of the matter is the police have been dealing with mentally ill since there's been police departments.
Exactly.
Because there've always been mentally ill people. Now we are recognizing more and more of them, and people are being designated, mentally ill. And there's a lot. So there's a lot of thing. And the push is maybe the police shouldn't deal with them. Maybe something else. Well, and this is my personal opinion. This is a political move, I believe, on the part of this police chief. Let me read down through here. It says, Indianapolis is undergoing a change in how its police department handles mental health situations as one of the first moves by the agency's new police chief, Chris Bailey. Chief Bailey recently introduced a comprehensive plan aimed at refining the way police respond to individuals facing mental health crisis. Now, even before I retired back in 2007, we had mental health training. We had training how to recognize people who are suffering from mental health issue and how to go through. And that training has been ongoing and it's been more comprehensive over the last few years. So police departments are already doing this.
Right.
Chief Bailey's plan includes a significant focus on streamlining access to assistance through the introduction of the 988 helpline. This 3-digit number will serve as a dedicated line for mental health emergencies, offering an alternative to the traditional 911 call. Now, what I've got a problem with this, Gary, is in an emergency, what are you going to call?
911.
You're going to call 911.
Yeah.
We've been taught that for years. I mean, 911, I think, came out in the 70s or the 80s. I mean, it's been around for a long, I think maybe in the 60s. It's been around for all of our lives, pretty much. And you're going to remember, 811 is, I think, if you got a problem with gas or something like that.
Exactly.
And you can kind of remember that. Now you're going to remember. What was the mental health line again, Aaron? What did I tell you?
Let's see. What was it?
Exactly.
988.
Now, this is an emergency. You need to dial the number. Come on.
Yeah.
If it's an emergency, what do? You call the hospital. This drives me crazy. You call a doctor's office. I mean, it could be your what's your foot doctors called? What are they? Podiatrists.
A podiatrist.
You can call a podiatrist and they say, if you have an emergency, please hang up now and dial 911. Like, come on, of course I'm going to do that.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, so if there's an emergency, you're going to dial 911.
Yes.
You're not going to remember to dial 988. If you're going to remember that there's special mental health, it's not an emergency.
Right. And they even do that with mental health professionals.
Exactly.
Psychologists and stuff.
Yes.
You call them, that's the message they leave. If this is an emergency, call 911.
I called the VA and they said the same, man. The VA, this is the Veterans Administration. If this is an emergency, hang up, dial 911.
I agree. 988.
That's going to drive me crazy. No. So we're going to have a gun guy go crazy because what happened to him? He was told to call 911 too many times and he lost his mind. Anyways, the point we're making here is you're not. And then if you have a special dedicated line, you have to man that line.
Right.
So now you have to hire somebody to sit there and listen to it, or it's going to be directed to somebody's phone line. And how often are you going to get this 988 call?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Anyways, okay. The chief has emphasized that proper information during the initial call is critical to sending the right help promptly. This measure aligns with the broader goal of ensuring that officers respond appropriately to mental health situations and highlights the ongoing efforts to enhance the community's safety by making essential resources readily available. You know where this comes in? Training is for the dispatchers. And the dispatchers are receiving this kind of training.
Right.
Ask the right questions. You know, they'll ask questions, what's going on? Well, he's yelling and screaming, and okay, they'll ask him, are there weapons? Does he have weapons? Is he intoxicated? Has he been taking drugs? Does he have a history of mental health issues? You ask these questions.
Right.
So they will for the officers, so the officers know. And generally officers know, they make regular calls. They know who they're dealing with. But if they don't, then the dispatchers, you don't have to have a special unit doing this. Let me continue on. Chief Bailey's vision centers around the creation of a specialized unit within the police department called the Operations Support Bureau. Think of it as a dedicated team focused solely on mental health issues. This new bureau aims to enhance coordination and efficiency when it comes to responding to calls related to mental health issues.
So if I call 911 and it's a mental health issue, if the dispatcher determines this is a mental health situation,
right,
please hang up and dial 988.
You're killing me, Gary.
You know, it's like,
they could have a recording. You know, I've dialed in San Antonio. You dial 911, and sometimes you get a recorded message.
Oh, really?
All circuits are busy. Please stay in line.
Goodness.
Sometimes you get busy. And the problem is this. The problem is, well, I got a flat tire. Well, call the police. What's the number? Oh, call 911. That's
right.
For emergencies
non-emergency,
only.
yeah.
You know, and then you have, I had little old ladies in my district, and they see a suspicious car. And they don't want to call 911 because they don't think it's an emergency. And I tell them, I said, just call 911. This is what the number's for. You know, it's not for if you have a flat tire.
Right.
You know, you can
your cat's in the tree.
Call AAA, not 911.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
But so he's going to have a dedicated team for this. You know, when I joined the police department, the only special unit we had, as far as I can remember, I mean, we had the vice detectives and stuff like that, you know, in homicide. But I'm talking about patrol officers. You had patrol officers, you had the traffic unit, and you had the SWAT team. That was it.
Huh.
And then they started bringing in special units. And where did them special units come from? Patrol. You're taking patrolmen off the streets. You know, you're sucking the patrolmen off the streets. Now you have less patrolmen to make the calls for service. Chief Bailey believes this shift is crucial because a significant number of police calls involve individuals going through mental health challenges. His goal is to ensure that the police are well prepared and capable of helping people in these situations without any unfortunate incidents occurring. You know, I really don't think that people have changed over time. Solomon says that. Things are as they were. You know, maybe we've identified more people now. We have the ability to identify it, but we've always known they're people there's a reason why people call the police.
Right.
There's a safety issue,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what's going on. There's a crime, the crime being committed, obviously, or there's a safety issue. Somebody's going crazy and doing, thinking about harming themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to call a mental health specialist. You can call the police to stop them from
Exactly.
doing that.
Yeah.
And
Yep. That's so true.
the Operations Bureau will bring together various existing groups, such as the Mobile Crisis Assistant Team, the Homeless Outreach Unit. So they've got these units. Consolidating the resources, the goal of creating a united front. And the problem is this, Gary, is as a patrolman, you're out there and like, well, this is this call. Well, who do I call for this? Well, I'll call the Mobile Crisis Assistance Team. I won't handle that call. Or I'll call the Homeless Outreach Unit.
Exactly.
I won't handle that call. I'll call the Mental Health Crisis Unit.
Yep.
Like, let the patrolman just handle it.
Mm-hmm.
They're general practitioners, if you will.
Exactly.
They can be trained. They're very capable.
Yep.
Adding a vital component to the city's transformative approach to the mental health response, as Chief Bailey plan includes a significant focus on streamlining access to help through the introduction of the 988 helpline. This 3-digit number will serve as a dedicated line for mental health emergencies, offering an alternative to the traditional 911. Despite the positive aspects of the plan, Rick Snyder, the head of the police union, raised a concern. Currently, the police department is short more than 350 officers.
Wow.
The shortage poses a challenge, as there may not be enough officers to handle everyday calls while implementing a new plan for mental health. That's what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Acknowledging this issue, Chief Bailey emphasized that for now, the plan will utilize existing officers.
So taking them off
the streets.
Yep.
He said that he recognizes the need to train current officers and hire more in the future to ensure the access of the Operations Bureau and other. I think that's the answer right there. Need to retain current officers and hire more. Why don't we just get more officers out there?
Yeah.
The Indianapolis Police Force currently operates with more than 350 officers below its maximum capacity of 1843. That's a 20% below operating.
Wow. Huh.
That is 20% low, and he wants to pull more people off. Despite this challenge, the Operations Support Bureau is part of a broader plan to modernize the police department and enhance its ability to address mental health challenges effectively. According to Chief Bailey, he envisions a safer community where the police and the public collaborate seamlessly. However, Snyder stresses that resolving the officer shortage is a crucial step to ensure a smooth implementation of these positive challenges, which is true. You've got to get more officers.
Mm-hmm.
Get back up to staffing. At his swearing in, Chief Bailey called retaining existing staff and hiring more to be amongst his top priorities. So he understands that top priorities, and that's why I said I think this is just rhetoric.
I do too.
I think it's just to help people say stuff that he's going to do something when actually he needs to get more officers.
Yes. And not more units, not more teams, but officers, patrol officers.
Exactly. You get them 350 officers hired, then you're up to 100% staffing. Get some training, more training. The officers get plenty of training. They get a lot of training, but they're not mental health specialists, nor they should be.
Right.
They need to go there. If they identify this, then how to properly secure this person so the person is safe, others are safe, and they get them to the mental health facility.
Mm-hmm.
They just transport them to the mental health facility. If it's safe to let them go, they let them go there.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not, then they detain them in a secure facility, whether that's the jail or a mental health facility that's locked down. You get them to a safe place, and then you let the mental health professionals take over.
Yes, and I think it opens the door for maybe not lawsuits, but it opens the door of more maybe accusations or misdiagnosis. You know, it's right. it's like a paramedic or an EMT. It is not their job to diagnose what has happened. You treat the injury, you're done. You pass them off to the hospital.
To a doctor.
To a doctor
nurses,
who knows. And so I would think that same thing with an officer. You're not paying an officer to diagnose, well, this is a mental issue, so here's what we're going to do. No, you retain them, like you said, the same way you would any criminal or thief or suspect.
Exactly. And that reminds me, there's a famous case, Connor versus Graham. That's it's a Supreme Court case. This came from I think it was 1985 or something like that. But in that case, an officer saw a person that an officer was parked outside a 7-Eleven convenience store.
Okay.
And he saw this car pull up real fast, stop, and this guy bails out, and he sees him go inside the 7-Eleven, run around hastily, gets back into his car and takes off. And he thought, this guy just committed a robbery or something. That's not normal behavior. So he pulls him over, and he thinks the guy's drunk. The guy's got slurred speech, he can't stand and stuff and all this stuff. So he arrests him, he gets him and arrests him, and the guy finally convinces him that he's having an epileptic seizure. And he needs some, not an epileptic seizure, but I can't think of it what it's called now. Anyways, low sugar and stuff like that.
Right.
Diabetic.
Shock.
Diabetic shock. So he's going into diabetic. And so what came out of that, and the guy ended up suing the police department for false arrest and all this kind of stuff. And what came out of that is that the Supreme Court went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said the officer understood. He did proper things because he thought the guy was drunk. So what resulted out of that was training. So when I went through the police academy, they were training. Hey, be careful. A person may be drunk. They may not be drunk. They may be having a medical issue. So look if there's a bracelet. Ask them questions. So the first thing you would do if you think they're drunk and they're causing problems, you'd probably handcuff them.
Right.
It's for their safety and for your own safety. And then you find out, like, oh, this is a medical thing. It has nothing. He's not drunk at all. Let's take the handcuffs off. Let's get him to the hospital. Let's call EMS. And that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But the officers are not medical. They're not mental health professionals.
No.
They're not physical health professionals.
Exactly.
They're law enforcement professionals.
Yes.
That's what they do. They enforce the law. It just happens to be that they are readily available to come and help somebody. Because if you say, well, this guy's having a mental health issue and they're law enforcement officers and he's on the bridge thinking to jump, could you imagine a law enforcement officer saying, well, that's really not my realm, so I'll just go on.
Exactly.
But, they go out there and they help.
Yeah. That's what their job is.
They're going to bring him to safety. They may go out there and lie to the guy, grab him forcefully, physically arrest him, for his safety, then get him the help that he needs. And so, God bless the police chief wanting to do this, but I think we need to just sit back and say, hey, look, here's what we're going to do. I'm not saying ignore the issue. Let's give proper training. But before we get proper training, we need to get more officers.
I agree. Yeah.
That's the key. Let's get more officers. These are professional police officers. Pay them like they're professional. If you're going to get paid well, you got more responsibilities.
Exactly.
As you go into any corporation, the higher up you go, the more you get paid, the more responsibility you have, the more is expected of you.
Yeah.
And so, hey, if you want to be well trained, well paid as a police officer, then let's get some more training. And I think that may be the answer to some of this.
Yep.
Anyway, man, we're out of time, Gary.
Oh,
wow.
We are out of time.
I just wanted to get some other things, but we're not going to get to them. That's it for now. Hey, thanks for listening in. If you have a topic question you want to address on Cop Talk, send me an email. You can email suggestions, questions, comments, or complaints to coptalk@therev.fm. Coptalk@therev.fm. And just remember, these are opinions voiced by Gary and I. Not necessarily what the rev.fm it stands for personally. Thought from the good book today: for the Lord reproves him who he loves as a father, the son whom he delights. Thank you for joining us and help us to make the thin blue line a strong blue line.
Cop Talk is presented by the Strong Blue Line Foundation and sponsored by Moose Ridge Coffee in Snake River Landing, Idaho Falls. Questions and comments are always welcome by email to coptalk@therev.fm. Listen, follow, leave a review, and share this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or YouTube. And visit thestrongblueline.org to learn how you can be a supporter. Cop Talk is a Rev FM production, produced and edited by Gary Austin. Thank you for joining us on Cop Talk.